Back to OpenLine, talking about short-term rental properties in Nashville. Huge issue before the Metro Council right now. Very contentious, strong feelings on both sides about what to do about this issue, like Airbnb and that kind of thing. A lot of calls tonight. Let's go back to the phones. Molly. Hello, Molly.
Yes.
Go right ahead, Molly.
Thanks for taking my call. I have a comment and a question. I've heard from a number of people from various sides of the issue, and hands down, everyone has been very grateful to council members Berkeley Allen and Bob Mendez and their colleagues on the council for the tireless work that they've been doing to try to establish rules that benefit Nashville. And so, first of all, I need to say thanks, and I represent a number of people in that appreciation. Secondly, my question, and a couple of comments to foreground it. We've heard a lot about the party houses, which are horrendous. No one wants those. We've also heard from Type 2 owners who are supporting themselves and the community in very wonderful ways and beneficial ways for Nashville. And a number of the problems seem associated with enforcement issues, including limits to the number of guests and noise problems, as well as permitting criteria. So my question for council members is this. Many of us want to work with you, help you find solutions that benefit Type 2 owners and people who are having problems. So how can we help, and what can we do? Thank you.
All right, good question.
So I would say the first thing they can do is work with the web platforms that they're using and encourage them to help us support those laws. I mean, they have all both VRBO and Airbnb have agreed that they will take the worst offenders off their sites or take them off of superhost status or things like that. We need better ways to make that actually happen. We have asked them to put the permit number, to provide a space to put the permit number on their site. That would make it much easier to identify who has a permit and who doesn't. There's been some reluctance there. It would be helpful if owners would apply pressure to the websites to do that.
So when they're asking what can we do, a place to start is with Airbnb and vacation rental
by owner, VRBO. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing they can do is we've mentioned a couple different times about the mayor's consultant report, and there's some recommendations. I think the council and the mayor's office will be considering the recommendations here literally in the next few weeks, and help for support from the community to implement the suggestions, to get more people in codes, to be able to hire the software consultant, to be able to have an algorithm to find scofflaws are things that we could use some help from the owner community.
What have you heard from hotels? Are they part of this?
You know, it's interesting. I hear fairly often that short-term rental laws are influenced some way by the hotel industry. And I've only been in office for a year and a quarter, but I've never heard once from somebody saying they represented a hotel. Not once on this issue at all. I haven't heard from the Chamber of Commerce about it. There is no business interest that I've heard from. I don't know if you have.
Well, when I started this process, I talked to everybody, including the Chamber, including the hotel lobby. And they said, the Chamber said, we want to make sure that the guests are safe, that Nashville doesn't get a black eye because something happens. That was their input. And the hotel folks said, we just want to make sure they're paying taxes just like we are. So that's the two pieces of input that I got. I think those are reasonable pieces of input. Other than that, they have pretty much kind of watched it from the sidelines. And
has there been a major problem that could give us a black eye? I'm not immediately aware, but when you hear some of the stories that we're hearing tonight, I mean, some bad stuff could happen. Are you aware of anything like that?
I mean,
have we been lucky, I guess?
I'll preface it by saying everything I hear is second or third hand. I'm aware of one situation in one neighborhood where neighbors were awoken to multiple police cars next door where an alleged sexual assault was being investigated. That's one incident that I'm aware of along those lines over several years. That obviously draws a lot of attention, and I've never saw any media coverage of it. So I don't think there was an arrest or anything, but something like that is, I think, where the potential for a black eye is, and a thing that could happen in any house, a fire. If there were a fire that were where there was a loss of life, that's got the potential. You could ask whether that would have anything to do with it being a short-term rental or not. If a house is overcrowded and people are unfamiliar with where the exits are and there's not big exit signs, that's the concern that people talk about. But up till now, it's been a concern, not a reality.
An issue.
And so, okay, I think now we have 1 minute in this segment. All right, where are we with this? What is the next step?
We deferred after the public hearing, so it will come back on, this ordinance will come back on second reading at the beginning of February. As Bob has mentioned, we both feel like it's important to go ahead and get some version of this bill passed quickly to solve the legal limbo question about the definition. And I think it's good if we get that done in one fashion or another, and then we continue working on making this work better. There's no question that passing this ordinance is the end. We all know that that's not the case.
That's not the case. Get something on the books and then work. All right, so we'll take a break. We'll come back and basically wrap everything up. Be back right after this.